Alright, so for tools, you will need a pair of rosary pliers, which are these guys here. They have cutters on them. These ones are made by Knipex, which are hands down the best pliers I've ever owned. They're kind of pricey, around that $40 to $50, but they are worth every penny. You also need some flat nose pliers. These ones also have cutters on them, but you don't need that. You can get these pretty cheap. Then you will also need some side cutters, which these can be fairly inexpensive as well. I like these ones because they get really tight cuts. But when you're cutting chain, it might be good to invest in a heavier pair of side cutters like these. Alright, so for your supplies, you will need some beads. And for this rosary, I'm using the red beads here. You need 59 beads per rosary. I also have some bead caps here, which make your glory beads look better. And you'll need some chain links cut. You will also need your wire. For cutting your chain, just want to make even segments. You can choose what your gapping will be. It kind of depends on what size of beads you're using. I do 3 links for this chain that I use. You will need 14 segments of chain cut. This is the rosary we will be making. So you're going to start with putting 10 beads on your wire. This is 20 gauge wire, which is what I recommend using. I'll have a link for it in the description. This is stainless steel wire, so it's a lot stronger than if you get silver filled wire or soft wire. Once you have all your beads on your wire, we're starting with making the 5 decades. You will put 1 segment of chain link on the end. Just like that. Alright, once you have your beads on the wire and your segment of chain link, using your rosary pliers, you are going to grab the wire with just a tad sticking out. Okay. Now with my thumb here, I'm going to kind of keep pressure on the wire. I'm going to turn with my other hand, and notice how where I grab the wire, it'll depend on how fast or how large or how small the loop will be. What we're forming is called the eye. And now I'm not going to close the eye right away because I want to get this chain link in there. Okay, so now I'm going to grab it from the inside here. And with my thumb here, I'm going to put pressure on the wire here. I'm going to close it. Now if you look at it, it's not centered. We want the eye to be centered so the beads don't look crooked. So now I'm going to grab this, and with my thumb here, I'm going to put pressure on the wire here, and I'm going to bend it straight. And then I'm going to also use my rosary pliers here to close the loop again, because it might reopen a little bit. Now it's still not centered, so I can adjust that by just grabbing here with my rosary pliers, just bending it straight. There we go, there's our first eye. Now we're going to bring the bead up. Now you'll get used to it, and you'll know where you want to cut it approximately. For these 8mm beads, I cut about this much. Now I'm going to hold on to this because when I cut it, it's going to shoot out. So now I don't lose it. Alright. So now I'm going to snug the bead up to the bottom here. I'm going to grab it with my rosary pliers here. Now I'm gonna bend towards me. Okay, so now it looks like that. All right. And this helps to center the eye on this side of the bead. All right, so now I'm gonna grab with a little bit of wire sticking out again. Now I'm gonna repeat bending it to the other side here. Now, this is when it really depends on how you close the eye, because you want the eye to be tight against the bead here. So I'm gonna grab it right here, and now I'm gonna readjust this way. If I don't like the way it looks, I can reopen it and get it really snug up there, tight with the bead. Now you can see it's centered. All right, that is our first bead. So now we're gonna string this back onto the wire like this. Okay. And now we're gonna repeat the process. So I'm gonna grab the little bit sticking out, I'm gonna bend it around, keeping pressure with my thumb here on the wire. Okay, don't want to close it because I need to string this bead back on so we make the chain links. All right, so I'm gonna grab it, put pressure on the middle of the wire here with my thumb. Okay, and now it's not straight. Just gonna have my thumb here, my fingers here to straighten it out. Close that eye again if it reopens. All right. So now I'm gonna bring my next bead up and hold on to this so it doesn't shoot out. All right. Grab here, bend it towards me so it looks like this. Now I'm gonna grab right up here, the little wire sticking past the needle nose pliers. Right. Bend it around. Gonna bend back a little bit. A lot of it is just readjusting it, which you'll get used to in time. Your first rosary probably will look pretty wonky, but after about your 1 or 2 rosaries, you'll get the hang of it. All right, I'm gonna straighten that eye. I can also readjust the eyes if they're kind of crooked, like this one a little bit. Just readjust it like that. So now, you also want your eyes to, you want one eye to be like this and the other eye to be opposite so that you'll avoid kinking with your rosary. So I can grab right here and using my needle nose pliers, flat nose pliers over here, I can grab this other one and I can readjust it so that they're opposite from each other. Looks a lot better when you do this, so you don't have random eyes sticking out different directions. It just looks a lot neater. All right, now we're just gonna do that for the rest of the decade here. Slide on the new one, slide on the beads. Going to close it, use my finger to readjust, get it centered. Readjust here if I need to. Okay, slide the bead on. Cut my wire. Bend towards me. And also you can kind of line it up so you might not have to readjust the bead too much at the end. Okay. Now bend my eye. Right. Now you can see it's a little crooked there. Alright. Now you'll just do this for the rest of the decade. Alright, so now we're on the last bead of the decade here. This one's going to be a little different because we need to put the chain link on the end of this section as well, just like we did at the beginning. So now I'm doing everything like we did before, except I'm not going to close this eye right away. I need to get my chain link in there. Oops. Just like that. And now we will close it. Try to get these closed tight so you don't have a lot of wobble in your beads. It's a tight fit. Alright. Now that is our first decade. Just like that. Now you'll need to do that 4 more times, which will take a while because it's your first time. But once you get past the first decade, it should go a lot smoother. Alright, now that we have our 5 decades here, you can line them up like this so you can count your beads and make sure you didn't miss a bead or put an extra one on. It's good to do that. You can see all my beads are here. I didn't put any extra ones. And you can also make sure that the lengths are the same. When you first start, you might have some that are a lot longer or shorter than the others, so you can even out the difference. So let's say 4 of these are the same length, and I have one that's a little bit longer. I can put this one in the middle, so then it'll even it out so my glory bees won't be offset. If I had it in the beginning here, it would make my glory bees not match up on the rosary. This isn't super critical, but it just makes it look nicer. Alrighty, so now I'm going to grab my wire again. I'm going to string on 4 beads for my glory bees for the 5 decades. And now I like to add spacer beads to the glory bees to make them look nicer. So I'm going to string on 1 bead. I'm going to get my spacer beads out here. These are called daisy spacer beads. Let's stick that on there. Now I'm going to put on another bead. Put on another spacer. Another bead. Spacer. Bead. And spacer. Alright. So now we're going to grab our one of our decades here. We're going to string on the chain link segment there, just like that. Now I'm going to grab the wire with my rosary pliers here. And just like before, I'm going to twist that around. I'm not going to close it because I need to get my decade in there, just like that. Now I can close it, make sure it's centered. Just like that. Alright, now I can slide my glory bee up like that. And when you're doing glory bees with spacer beads, you want to give yourself a little more wire because that spacer bead's gonna take up more room, of course. that. Just like before, slide it, bend it towards myself. And now I string on the other spacer bead, just like that. Now I grab the wire again, form my eye. Now I'm not going to close this side either, so I can get my next decade in there. Now string that in like that. Alright, now I can close it. And this can be a little more tricky to get your beads tight with the spacer beads like that. You can always backtrack like this, and kind of readjust things to get it nice and snug. Alright, now I'm going to do that for the rest of the decades here. Alright. Now we have our 5 decades all connected. So now we will push this to the side for now, and we will make the beginning section of the rosary. Now for that we will need 5 beads. I'm gonna grab my first bead here, string it on, and then I'm gonna put on one of my spacer beads. I'm gonna string on the rest of the beads. Now with the rest of the beads on, I'll put on another spacer bead, and then I will put on chain link segment, just like that. Alright. Now I'll grab, just like normal, with like what you're doing with the glory bees. Put that chain link segment in there, straighten it out, get your bead. Put on another spacer bead like that. And before I close it, I'm going to put on another chain link segment, just like that. Alright. Now I'll string on one side of this, back onto the wire, and now we'll make the 3 beads. Okay, now that we're on the last of the 3 beads with in between the glory bees, I'm going to put a chain link segment on the end of this one as well. Just like that. Close it. Now string this side onto the wire so we can get our last glory bee on there. Get our spacer bead on there. And then we'll put on that last chain link segment. Just like that. These can be a little tricky to get the bead cap centered and tight, of course. Alright, now we are done with all of our beading. Now we're going to be adding our crucifix and our centerpiece here. Now there are a couple different ways you can do this. For beginners, I would recommend using these jump rings, which a lot of crucifixes, they'll come with it. You can see that. Then you can also buy some jump rings in packs like this. So I'm going to be using these bigger ones here. If you're going to be making a lot of rosaries, I do not recommend jump rings because they can come apart. There's a better way of doing it that won't break. But for beginners, this is good for beginners. Alright, so I'm going to grab my jump ring here. I'm going to open the jump ring like that. So now I'm going to grab my centerpiece here. Just going to string it on like that. Now I'm going to grab my 5 decades here. Make sure you're on the right side of the centerpiece. These two sides are going to be for the 5 decades. Now I'm going to string on my chain link like that. So now with my flat nose pliers here, I'm going to close the jump ring just like that. And then if I want it to be a little tighter, I'll close the jump ring a little more, grabbing from the sides here. Just like that. And then I can round off the edges by just going inside here and just clamping down a little bit on it. Just get it all nice and round so you don't have a rough edge of the wire sticking out. Just like that. Alright. I'll grab another one. And repeat this for all the other sides. Now I'm going to grab the other side of the 5 decades here. String it on. And close up this jump ring a little more. Looks a little neater. Clamp it down all around so there's no rough edge of the wire sticking up. Okay. Now we'll work for the beginning of the rosary here. We will close that. Clamp it all around. Okay. Same for the crucifix. Oops. Just like that. Close the jump ring. Squish it down a little bit. And kind of tamp it down all around. Alright. There we go. Now our rosary is finished. Now if you look as I'm holding it here, like I was saying earlier, see how the glory bees match up? They're not wonky. It's like that. Makes it look a lot nicer. so now for more advanced setup, instead of using these jump rings, you can use these wire wrapped connectors, which is a little more advanced to do. But these will never come apart because they're wrapped around on themselves. So if these got yanked really hard, they would just tighten it. Unless the wire broke, it's not going to come apart like a jump ring would. Alright, so for the wrapped connectors here, I am going to remove the extra chain link segments, because then the rosary gets you get a pretty big gap if you keep them on. The connector is long enough that there's a nice gap there. You can keep these if you want, that's just my personal preference. Alright, now with that out of the way, we're going to grab our centerpiece here, string it onto the wire like that. I'm going to grab my rosary pliers. Now I'm going to be grabbing the wire farther down the pliers, closer towards the back of the pliers like this, because these are shaped that the prongs are wider and I need bigger loops for the centerpiece and crucifix. You don't want a tight loop because then it kinks up very badly. Alright, I'm going to have a decent amount of wire up here as well. Alright, make a loop, go all the way around like that. Now I'm going to grab here with my rosary pliers, my other hand here. I'm going to straighten that out so the eye is centered, just like that. Now I'm going to grab in here and I'm going to bend this so it's horizontal with the rest of the wire there. Alright, now I'm going to slide up my centerpiece into the loop. Now I'm going to grab here with my rosary pliers, and now I'm going to wrap around. I usually do 2 loops all the way around. You can do as many as you'd like. Just make it a longer connector if you do. Alright, now I got some excess there. I'm going to grab my side cutters here, cut off the excess as close as I can to the connector. Now with my flat nose pliers here, it sticks up a little bit, so I'm just going to press that bit of wire down so it doesn't catch on things. Alright, half the connector is done. You can see how these won't ever break because there's no opening on them for the connector to slip out because it's wrapped around itself. Alright, so now for the other side, I'm going to cut off a long section, and it's better to cut too long than too short because then you have to start over if it's too short. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the wire about here. I'm going to bend this way towards me. Okay, now I want to center it. Grab here, center it like that. I'm going to grab here, and I'm going to bend this so it's horizontal with the connector. Right? So now I'm going to grab the end of the 5 decades here, slide that into the loop. Now I'm going to grab my pliers here. Now I'm going to wrap this direction. I want to get it tight up against each other so there's no gaps in it. Then once I get it close to where the end of the other wire is, you can see the other end right there. I'm going to use my cutters and cut off the excess. Okay. Now with my flat nose pliers here, I'm going to press down that end of wire so it doesn't catch on things. Just like I did on the other side. And when you get really good at it, you won't even be able to notice that there's two ends of wire right there. And there we go. It's one connector there that will never break. Alright, so now let's do the other side. So I'm going to slip on the connector. I'm going to grab a decent amount of wire sticking out. Bend it towards myself. Center the eye, just like that. Grab this section here and bend it so it's horizontal with the connector, just like that. Right? Now I slip on my connector, slip on my centerpiece, grab the eye like that, and wrap around. Trying to get it as tight as I can together so there's no big gaps. Right? Cut off the excess. Press down the burr of wire that's sticking up. Just like that. Right? Now I cut off a big section like that. Flip it around. Grab somewhere around here. Bend it towards me. Just like that. Center the eye. Make the tail horizontal with the connector, just like that. Alright, now I'll get the other section, 5 decades, slip that on, wrap the other direction, just like this, until I meet where the other one ended. I get it fairly close, then I cut off the excess. Right. Then I just press down that little bit of wire. It can be a little tricky sometimes getting it to line up. You can also get a little file set. Something like this. It's a diamond file. So then you can file off if there's any rough edges of the wire sticking up that you can't press down with the pliers. You can file it down just so it doesn't catch on things. Alright, there we go. This is a little more complex, but it's going to make your rosaries a lot more durable if you get to this point. But you don't have to get to this point right away. You can take your time. The jump rings work fine, but this is just more durable. Alrighty, thank you for watching. Hope this helps. If you have any questions, you can message me.